Welcome everyone, Shawn Thompson here, spiritual counselor and psychic medium. I'm so glad to have all of you joining me here shortly, and I have an exciting topic that I want to talk about today. I'm going to really jump in and kind of interweave it with my experience across the veil, what I learned, and what kind of information I have about what happens to us when we die. Hey Terry, thank you for joining. About what happens to us when we die. And the whole intention of this is to bring a lot of peace, some understanding, some comfort to those who have lost loved ones, those who fear death, those who have been brought up in a very from a very religious doctrine and had fear instilled. So we're going to go over all of that today. Hey Pamela, thank you for joining. Good morning. So before we get started, for those of you who don't know me, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Shawn Thompson. I am a spiritual counselor and psychic medium. I've been doing this work for over 21 years. I absolutely love it. I was traditionally a licensed counselor and then moved to full-blown spiritual counselor around 2006 when I had an out-of-body experience, which is similar to a near-death experience, but there's a little difference to it. That's for another video. But my experience across the veil and in the light is very similar, if not almost the same, as when you lose a loved one and they cross into the light. So back in 2006, when I had that experience, there were a lot of truths that were revealed to me, and a distinct message that part of my job here was to deliver information to those about the afterlife, about death and dying, about what our purpose is here. And so that's what I've been dedicated to my whole professional experience, to sharing that information with you. So really quick, if you have not joined my private Facebook community called Conversations Across the Veil, please join it. I do offer deep discounts on my readings. I offer special workshops and classes. You get access to my live Q&As once a month where you can jump on and ask me any questions. So if you haven't done that, please look it up. It's called Conversations Across the Veil. So let's get started. Hi Melanie, thank you for joining. So my whole goal here is to go over 5 important common experiences that your loved ones and you as well will experience after you die. The first one is that you will receive the most loving, welcoming invitation into the spiritual realm and into the light. It is the highest vibrational, unconditional love that you will ever experience, and it's something that up until that point, you don't realize how much you are loved, how valuable you are, how much you're needed. But at that point, when you cross into the light, this is what happens. All of your family members that have crossed into the light, including friends, including family members that maybe you never met or you don't remember, including acquaintances that you had during your lifetime that made a difference for you. It also includes the angelic realm, all the angels that have not incarnated but are in the spiritual realm and serve as guides and loving support system. It includes the ascended masters, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and it includes, most of all, this beautiful heavenly being that if you were raised Christian, Catholic, any of the religions, you would call this being God. Some refer to this energy as universe, or the universal mind, or universal consciousness, higher self, spirit. You are embraced with all of these loving energies the moment you enter into the light, and there's an agenda for these welcoming committee. And why they greet you and meet you. First and foremost, they want you to feel so welcomed that it supersedes any of the misconceptions that you may have in growing up from a religious doctrine. So especially Christians, and I was raised Catholic again, we are taught that God is a judging God, or that if we don't mind our P's and Q's, that we will be judged and not let into the heavenly realm. We're taught that we're sinners. We're feared what will happen in the afterlife if we don't follow rules. And so what happens is we come into the light and immediately we don't feel worthy. I remember when I first crossed into the light, I fell to my knees. I knew exactly where I was, and I did not feel worthy. I thought, oh my God, I have stolen gum. I cheated on my boyfriend. I have lied. I know where I'm at, and I'm not ready for this. I don't feel welcomed. And immediately, everybody on the welcoming committee said to me, that's not what it's about here. And you could imagine, I mean, my world was blown at that moment, because I was raised a sinner and brought up to believe that if you do anything wrong, you're going to be judged on that moment in the light. And the whole goal was to have them help me and release me from all those misconceptions, all those thoughts that I had of what I was taught in Sunday school, what I was taught in Catholic school, what I read in books, what I read in the Bible. And their goal was to wash me of that so that I could remember who I really was, so that I could return back to my authentic self and remember how much I was loved and how much I'm needed, so that I could pursue my journey in the afterlife. And so the loving, welcoming embrace was basically there to invoke my spiritual insight and combine it with my intellectual understanding to realize that I was more than what I was taught. I was more than what I remembered and what I experienced during my earthly realm. So needless to say, it is the most beautiful moment in the light, and that's why so many of your loved ones who are transitioning, or who are in a coma, or who have had a near-death experience that can come back and share this with you, say, the light is the most beautiful experience. There's no words to explain it. And it lures you in because you remember who you are, and it's the most unconditional love filled with joy, peace, and innocence that you will return back to. It's hard to say no to that. So that's the first thing that you experience. The second thing that you experience is your body changing. So when you die, you are released of your physical body. On the other side, you don't have a physical body. You're pure consciousness. Now, you do have your senses. You're able to see, feel, hear, and you do carry your inner qualities across the veil when you die. Debbie, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. You do carry your inner qualities, such as your thoughts, your beliefs, your experiences, your moments of living that reside in your heart, but your physical body is released. And the reason that is because you're so much more than your physical body. You're just having a human experience, and your physical body is the transportation for your spiritual body and your soul. So what happens, what the welcoming committee does, is it washes you of all the harshness, all the egoic feelings and emotions of hate and anger and loss. It washes you of that. It goes away with your physical body, as well as your ailments, your disabilities, anything that happened to you physically. All of that's released. So in the thousands of readings I've done, this has been validated as well, that people who have gotten into a car accident, or who suffered from cancer, or who lost a limb, or who were wheelchair bound, they will come through and share with their loved ones still living that they're not in any pain. They don't have the illnesses or the disabilities that they once had. They don't even have a body at all. And so the goal is to move into your spiritual body, your full awareness of your authentic self, and release that mask, excuse me, there's a bug, he's flying, release that mask of what we have to wear and what we have to hide behind while we're walking this journey on earth. We release that along with the physical body, and we step into our true authentic nature so that we can actually have access to all that is. So when you're in a pure state of consciousness, and I remember this moment when I was across the veil, I had these energies, these essences around me, and there was no communication like I'm talking to you now. It was all coming through thought, tones, vibrations, and frequencies. And these are all things that your spiritual body has access to, your soul has access to, that when we're walking in the living and living out our journey on earth, we get mud all over us, right? And we just really function from our intellect and our egoic mind, and we don't utilize our spiritual essence as much as we really could and can. But when you cross over into the veil, you have, I wouldn't say immediate access, because in the welcoming committee, their job is to release you from everything that you've known or experienced so that they can raise your vibration and come back into your spiritual essence, your spiritual body, your authentic self, to be able to receive and remember everything that you are. Because at some point, and I'm going to get to that on number 4, you're going to have a life review. And to be able, I have a bug, maybe let's just say it's a little fairy, to be able to respond and be willing to be humbled enough to have that life review. They want you to remember who you truly are at a core soul level, because the judgment day, the life review, is not what you think. And you want to remember how beautiful you are. Your physical body is released. You step in and you release, or you take off the mask of who you were in the earthly realm and step into who you really are, which is your spiritual essence, which is access to everything. You are everything. You can feel, hear, and sense everything. When those beings were talking to me, I knew what they were saying without any words. I was immediately connected to them. And so it was just a beautiful experience. It's like really being with your soul tribe. So just like you did in the earthly realm, you still have free will. You still have the ability to make a decision if you want to grow, or if you want to stay at the level of learning or soul development that you are currently in. And this is where, when you cross, you move into locating and resonating and connecting with your soul group that you incarnate with every time. So I'm going to use this example to try and explain it to you. Thanks, Dorothy, for being here. I really appreciate you showing up. So what happens is, let's just pretend that there is a school and it houses kindergartners all the way up to 12th graders, okay? And in this school, a kindergartner, if they want to go to 12th grade, they have to go through the levels and stages of the scholastic years to get to that level. And all the 12th graders get a lot of privileges, and they can kind of come and go. They have work study, and maybe a first grader may see that and think, oh, well, I want to be a 12th grader, and they just want to move up to 12th grade. Well, we all know that that's not going to happen, right? They have to kind of go through the stages of the learning process so that they will be able to handle 12th grade homework, the responsibilities, the freedoms that come with 12th grade. And then same with 12th graders moving into college. You know, there's a prep time that has to be allowed for you to be successful. So if you look at the ultimate goal of why our soul incarnates, it's for pure soul development, to eventually reach the heavenly realm where the angels and ascended masters live, which is a very, very high vibrational realm. And the new beginners, who are the souls that are incarnating, even if you've had multiple lifetimes, hundreds of lifetimes, those are still kind of new beginners, which means they haven't reached the highest vibration where the angelic realm and the ascended masters like Jesus and the universal mind or the God source reside. You have to work your way up to that. So essentially, the heavenly realm, the spiritual realm, is created in layers or levels. And these layers and levels are not, they don't go from bad to good. They're very neutral. So if you were to look at kindergarten versus 12th grade, it's not a bad to good layered system. It's just, it just replicates the amount of information you've learned, which in the spiritual realm, it would be the level that your soul is at development. So what happens is when you die and you cross over, it's like a family reunion or it's like a school reunion. So let's just say kindergarten through 12th grade, they're all having their yearly reunion in the same building. So the kindergartners are not going to go over to the 12th graders and hang out with them at the reunion. They wouldn't know what to talk about. They couldn't identify. They really wouldn't even know or resonate with that group. So on the other side, when you die, there's all these layers and levels, and you have the ability to go and find your soul group, your tribe, and you will check out all these layers. You're allowed to check that out, but you'll realize, oh, I don't resonate with this group, or oh, I don't resonate, or I can't sustain my vibration high enough to be in the angelic group. I still have some learning to do. And then finally you find your soul group. They feel good. You've incarnated with them many times. They have chosen to play out lessons and teach you. And they're at the same level of, let's just say, soul development or education, to where you feel comfortable enough to then design your next lifetime and the lessons that you want to learn. So in this third thing that happens to you across the veil when you die, you're given free will, you're given an opportunity to find your soul group, and you're given an opportunity to say, I want to continue learning. I want to go back and incarnate, or I want to stay here. God doesn't just come to you after your death and say, you're not going back, or you're not worthy to return, or you get sent, to the corner because you didn't listen to me. It really does not happen like that. You really have full control, free will of when you come back, what you want to learn again, if you want to stay there to renew or rejuvenate your spirit. So that's the beauty of how free will and life continues after you pass away. So it really gives you an opportunity to evolve to the level that you would like to evolve. Now I want to talk about the fourth thing that happens in the afterlife, which this to me is kind of the most exciting because it involves a life review. So people who are raised religiously or in the Christian faith would probably call this Judgment Day. And it's so not that. And I'm excited to kind of shed a new light on it because people worry about when it comes their time, to meet God at the heavenly gates, the pearly gates, whether they're going to be let in or not. So a life review is given to you after you have been welcomed into the light, after you have been washed of your misconceptions of what heaven and hell or life and death or God and the devil are about. After your vibration is raised to the point where you can actually receive spiritual truths that have always been there, and you can access the love of who you are and where you come from. And after you've decided where you want to go from your incarnation, then you're offered a life review. And some of y'all may have heard this, where there's a 3-day window of when someone dies and when they integrate fully into the spiritual realm. So think of it this way. In that 3-day window, all of this is happening. So what a life review does is it offers you the opportunity to go through every experience that you've had in that particular lifetime and really take a look at it and learn from it. Some of you have heard of the Akashic Records. This is kind of a chapter, a lifetime is a chapter of the Akashic Records, because what happens is when you incarnate, your life stories are implanted or impregnated into your spiritual body. And then when you have your life review, it's like that life story is opened up to that chapter of the life that you incarnated, and you get a chance to reread it. And the goal of a life review is for you to understand how every thought, every action, every moment in your world, how it impacted you and others. And so the beauty of it is you get to revisit all those random acts of kindness that maybe were never acknowledged or the person never knew it was you. And you get to see how that moment impacted their life. Whether you got credit for it or not, you do get credit for it in the end. So you get to see how you made a difference. You also get to go over huge events that affected you, even down to the most trivial moments, and how that impacted you in another. And the goal is not to be judged by any of those moments, good or bad, but to learn from that moment. And so when people hear about Judgment Day and, oh, you'll be judged for your acts, the truth is it's not even called judgment, it's called learning. And the goal of your lifetime is for soul development, and in order to raise up to the next level, to eventually get to where the ascended masters are in the heavenly realm, is to help you understand that everything you think, say, and do has an impact on you and others, which also has an impact in your ability to raise the levels in the spiritual realm. So let's just say you were a kindergartner and you have to learn things to move to the first grade level, learn things to move to the second grade level. Let's just say you failed one of your tests in first grade. It doesn't mean you don't get to move to the next level. It means you have to study harder. Let's just say you failed first grade. It doesn't mean that you're not allowed to continue school. It just means you have to repeat the first grade. So your life review is going to give you an opportunity, one, to decide if you'd like to move forward, two, to decide what you would like to keep in your lessons learned and what you would like to let go of or have a redo. It lets you understand how good intentions are honored, how negative acts that hurt someone really affect those that you don't know and those that you know. And it gives you an opportunity to ask questions of how can I do better. So it's not that God's judging you. It's really your soul is taking a hard look at how you did in the school of earth and saying to you, could you have done better? Do you want to know more? How could you have done this differently? Did you realize that when you carried guilt around too long, what it would do to your self-esteem and your value? So you really get the inside scoop of the inner workings of how you existed during your lifetime. And this is going to help you. The beauty of a life review is it's going to help you understand that every moment matters. That's why they tell you to live in the now, because every moment, every thought, action, and belief that you have is transferred to the next moment and the next moment and the next lifetime and the next lifetime. So when you have an out-of-body experience or a near-death, which I had an out-of-body experience, what I got, and I do believe that anybody who dies or has an out-of-body or near-death experience has the opportunity to come back if they want to in that lifetime. But sometimes the body is so deteriorated that they don't want to come back, so they stay on the other side. In my situation, I was offered to come back. I didn't want to come back, but then in my life review, I was shown this is who I wouldn't help, this is how things wouldn't change, This is how my family would be. This is what I would miss out. So of course I chose to come back. But anyway, so when you're in that life review moment and you get to see maybe where you're headed on the wrong path or what you can improve on, and you're given the opportunity to come back and you choose to come back, it's a monumental moment. Because if you ask anybody who's had a near-death experience or out of body, so they have something that happens and they get to come back and get a do-over, they will tell you that they're filled with love like they've never had. They see life through a different lens, and it changed them forever. Because you get a sneak peek into who you really are, and your vibration is raised from the experience, that the years of walking on earth that are heavy on us, the emotions we experience, are washed away. And you get that do-over to say, maybe I should be a nicer person. Maybe I should eat better. Maybe I want to do more random acts of kindness. Maybe I should do something I love. Maybe I should be kinder to others and myself. So you get that do-over, and that usually comes from a life review, and you choose to come back and finish out your life. Now I want to share 3 questions that were given to me during that life review, and I do know that you will be asked these 3 questions during your own life review. The number 1 question is, how did you love yourself? In the good moments and the bad moments, what were your thoughts that were continually circling in your mind? I'm too fat. I'm beautiful. I'm not worthy. I can't do that. I'm not smart enough. They were asked, how did you love yourself on every level, in every moment, all the time? The second question I was asked is, how did you love others? This includes your enemy. This includes your best friend, your drug-addicted child, your abusive parent. How did you love others? The third question is, did you make a difference? And this is small differences, big differences. Nobel Prize, holding the door open for someone who's got their hands full of groceries. Those are the only 3 things that mattered during my life. And in those 3 questions, they're filled with the duality of pros and cons and the opposite of each other. Good thoughts, bad thoughts. Good behaviors, bad behaviors. And you're taking a look at all of that. And the interesting thing is, what you think is important to God is not always what you've been taught. And so during this life review, what you realize is that love is really all that matters. Love of self, love of others, love of humanity. So if you are having an out-of-death or a near-death experience and you opt in to come back, your perspective of who you are and how you live your life is changed forever. And the neat thing about it is, when you're willing to realize that and step into it, it actually affects your quality of life in the afterlife. So one of the goals of incarnating is to it's kind of like a fast pass at Disney World. You're given ego, which is the veil that kind of hides your memory of the spiritual realm, because if you remembered who you are in its entirety, it would be hard to integrate into the earthly realm because of all the heaviness that we have to go through. So when you come back, it's like the veil is lifted and you live from a higher vibration, from your true authentic self. And it actually allows you to be happier and to live life to the fullest, and to raise your vibration and your soul development, so that in the afterlife, when you go to your reunion, and you could skip a grade. Okay, so look at it like when you take some college classes and it bumps, can give you that fast pass to jump a level in the spiritual realm and reach the ultimate goal of being in the heavenly realm where the highest vibrational angels and ascended masters and God reside, so that you could actually resonate at that vibration. So it gives you a fast pass. You can jump a grade, jump a level based on your acts that you play out here, which come from a life review in that respect. So I hope I explained that. So let me see here. One of the things that I do want to touch on is a lot of people believe or have been taught that bad acts that you do here on earth are punishable in the spiritual realm. And that's not a truth. And I'm going to shed some light on that for you. So when you are your true authentic nature and you come from the light and you incarnate and you forget who you are and you turn into a bad apple and you do some things you shouldn't do, let's say robbery, even murder, and then you go back and you have your life review. When you're looking at your life review and the negative or the harsh acts that you did, what we would call punishable acts, and you're seeing it from the true nature of who you are, through God's eyes of how God knows you. And there's true remorse. There's a true desire to learn. There's a true nature in you that says, wow, I really messed up on that one. Can I go back and make it better? Can I change it? What happens is you're washed of those acts. This doesn't happen automatically, though. It doesn't happen because you've been forgiven by Jesus. It happens because you have true remorse and a level in soul development and learn from your mistakes, and you get a do-over. It doesn't mean that you get a free pass into the heavenly realm. You wouldn't be able to function. You wouldn't be able to forgive yourself to be in one. But you get an opportunity to kind of purge and detox and work through that moment, right, of that fallen angel, of how you feel, to cleanse your soul and come back to the perfection of who you are. And so I'll go into another video on how you get offered that opportunity. But let's just take suicide as an example. So a lot of people, especially those who are very face value of the Bible, believe that suicide is a major sin and you won't get into the pearly gates if you commit suicide. But there are some things that your soul came in to learn, and if you weren't able to learn them, or if you weren't strong enough and you killed yourself during your life review, and you go over and you're asked, do you see where you could have done better, where you went wrong, do you want to try again? And you say yes, you're allowed. And you're given actually extra special help to make it to the next level, whether it be you're a guide for somebody who is suicidal in the next incarnation, whether it be you stay at the level in the spiritual realm to receive more love and nurturance, to raise your vibration, to go back and try and live it from a different angle. So you're given opportunities, and just because you do what we would call a bad act doesn't make you a bad apple. It's really about when you're looking at that bad act that you did, and if you don't see anything wrong with it and you need to kind of be spiritually rehabilitated, then you will spend extra time going to learn how that impacted other people's lives, your lives, how it slowed your process down, right, to graduate, to get to college or the heavenly realm. And it gives you the opportunity to choose to decide when, how, and what you're going to do to move up a level if you choose to do that. So it's a little complicated, but I'm going to do another video on that. But my main point is that what we think would be punishable is not necessarily punishable. Remember what I said. What you think is important to God may not really be what's important to God. I think what's important to God is how you love yourself, how you love others, and did you make a difference? And let me tell you, that difference could not happen until you're in your life review and you go, oh my God, I see what I did wrong. I see how I could have done better, and I'm willing to go try to do it again. That makes a difference in the world, and it makes a difference to God. So those of you who think that what matters to God is that you're perfect, or that you always try to do good, or that you're not a sinner, that's not necessarily true. It's a component, but you got to look at the bigger picture. You know, it's kind of like your kid. If you have two kids and one grows up to be great and went to college and is an upstanding citizen, and then you have one who gets sidetracked and does drugs and steals things and went to prison. Does it really matter if the one that ended up going to prison and got out and made everything right, apologized, lived better, was true to their authentic self, and rose up by their choosing in their lifetime? Does it really matter if they went to prison? No. What matters is that they chose to do better. And that's the moment that matters in your life review, and the ultimate moment that matters to God. So I hope that is insightful for you. Now, I want to move into the fifth thing that happens when you cross over, when you die. And that is, and people ask me this all the time, what are my loved ones doing on the other side? Are they watching TV? Are they having relationships? Are they watching me all the time? What are they doing? And because I want to know why they're not with me all the time, or why I don't feel them all the time. What they're doing is they're choosing, most of them anyway, are choosing to do whatever they need to do to raise their vibration for soul development. So you're given opportunities on the other side, like it's big spiritual learning wisdom centers that you can join up classes for and get taught by mentors who are really willing to meet you at the level that you're at for your own personal soul development. So you're given opportunities to learn and to grow, to reconstruct your next lifetime. You can choose to be a guide for someone else. You can choose to stay and not incarnate again, or you can choose to just take some downtime and rejuvenate your soul. So pretend like if you graduated from high school and you went to a specialty college that was all about developing you as a soul, and you got to choose whatever classes you wanted and what you needed to relearn and how to perfect you as a person. That's what they're doing on the other side. They're choosing their next lifetime. They're choosing to support you during your continued lifetime. They're busy, but I will tell you this. They're never, ever busy to let you know that they're around you, to come and give you love and support when you need it, to give you guidance and help when you need it. So don't ever think that your loved ones or the angelic realm or the ascended masters are too busy to help you, or too busy to love you, or too busy to walk through the fires with you. They're never too busy. So I have a few takeaways that I really want to emphasize in what I hope that you got out of this video. And one is how God really sees life and death, but specifically death. God and the angelic realm and the higher beings in the spiritual realm see death as a celebration. We're not really taught how to grieve and how to accept and deal with death in the American society. We're just really not. But he sees it as a celebration, and you'll hear me refer to God as he because I was raised Catholic. But God really is a universal energy, androgynous, no body, physical body, just a spiritual consciousness. But how God sees death is a beautiful offering to the soul when the soul has chosen to end the incarnation, whether it be through an accident or through a disease or through taking their life or through old age, when it's time for the soul to cross and decide whether it wants to come back or not and when, God offers the opportunity to step into a beautiful realm full of unconditional love and to remind you who you are, what your purpose is, why you're here, and to offer up the experience to have a life review to say, can you do better? Do you want to do better? Where are you at? What level are you trying to attain? Can I help you with that? And so when the soul crosses into the light at that grand moment, they're invited into this beautiful energetic field, a return home, if you will, and offered a level of soul development and to what extent they want to go. And so it's seen as a beautiful celebratory moment of coming home to say, wow, you've had a ring-dinger of a life this lifetime. Where are you at? Can I help you? Do you want to go back? What's next? So it's really a beautiful moment for your loved one as they cross into the light. You, on the other hand, the one that's having to deal with loss, grief, pain, guilt, regret, you're the one that's going to struggle. And so there are light beings, angelic people being through a situation like that, like myself, that are sent here to provide this kind of insight of life after death, to provide the knowledge and the support and compassion and love to help you through those moments. But ultimately, it's your choice. Just like in the spiritual realm, you have free will here. You have the freedom to choose who you are, how you show up in life, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, and if you're going to make a difference in your life or somebody else's. And so that life review, if you ever get an out-of-body experience, if you ever have a near-death experience, or you know of somebody who has, and you choose to come back, it's going to change you forever because you will have had access to everything that I talked about today. You will have the inside scoop of what really matters to God, in the spiritual realm, of what Jesus and all the other ascended masters came to teach. You will have direct access to it. You will be truths that you have forgotten during your time on earth, that the ego has kind of sheltered you from or challenged you, right? To rise above it, to take the higher road. So those are the two takeaways. Death is really 3 questions that I mentioned earlier in life. You can actually change things for yourself now and live at a higher vibration. And I know it's hard. There's nothing like being a spiritual person and having to forgive, right? But you can actually change your situation and have an impact on how you experience soul development in the spiritual world and get that fast pass or jump a level, which is what I think the Bible talks about, the heavenly kingdom. And there's many rooms in my house. There's many levels and layers, and they're all beautiful. So if you're interested in learning more, I will post a link below to my guide. It's called An Intimate Conversation Across the Veil. And it's all about death, dying, and the afterlife. And what's so neat about this guide is I have over 25 questions that have been asked to me during my readings, and I have channeled the answers to things like we talked about today, to what happens and why people get cancer, suicide, drug addiction, signs and symbols of loved ones coming through. So I have a bunch of questions that I have laid out with the answers to them, all channeled from the afterlife, as well as some questions that your loved ones across the veil want to ask you regarding grief, loss, how you are, how you treat yourself, and answers that they channeled to share with you of how they would like you to answer the question. So it's called An Intimate Conversation Across the Veil. I'll put a link in that after the video. And if you want to schedule a free consultation with me to see how we could work together, if you're interested in a mediumship session, if you're grieving the loss of a loved one and you're stuck and you need some help in understanding the grieving process, in addition to being able to connect with your loved one or wanting to learn how to connect on your own, I also teach mediumship development, which anybody and everybody can learn. You always want to kind of learn it yourself and not be dependent on a medium or a counselor for a lifetime. This is something that you can earn your wings and learn to fly high with your loved ones across the veil, learn to access the angelic energy and guides that want to come through and help you. So if you want to schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me to my program, Words Left Unspoken, which is a 90-day program to help those who have lost someone, who or just want a single session or want to do your own personal spiritual development, which I absolutely love working with people. You can schedule that free consultation, and while I have openings in my day planner, I'd love to speak with you. Like I said, join my conversations across the